Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. In today's special episode, we sat down with James Gorrie, blogger, filmmaker, and author of The China Crisis. He touches on the clampdown on big tech, the Evergrande crisis, and the energy shortage in China. Let's dive in. Hello, James. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great to have you on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tiff.
So lately, there's a lot of attention on China's clampdown on various sectors, be it big tech or right now in the news, Evergrande is really big. So why do you think that is?
Well, ultimately, it's about control. And, China is run by the Chinese Communist Party, obviously, and that's run by a cadre, a top echelon of a group of people. And they're all about control. So Evergrande isn't I pronounce it Evergrande. That's a symptom of the disease, of the distortions of the economy is suffering. If they haven't even called it economy, but it's a state-run enterprise, as it were, and they're clamping down on these tech folks like Jack Ma, for example, which I wrote about, because for a number of reasons. But he threatened the state. He threatened the validity of the state. He pointed out that their financial system and their banks are run like, with a pawn shop mentality, for example. Now, when you think about it, that's a direct criticism and a direct threat to the ruling elites, of which CCP is the one elite, and Xi Jinping runs the CCP. So it's a pretty direct criticism. And so in the tech sector, that's a symptom of, Jack Ma particularly, but there are others. That's a symptom of just they fear the truth. The truth is their enemy, so they have to maintain control, and they spend an awful lot of energy and time and resources doing that. And so, cracking down on Jack Ma was very, very predictable. He should have known better. And besides, let's be honest, Jack Ma looked and behaved and had huge events like he's a rock star, even dressed like a rock star. And there's only room for one rock star in China, and it's not Jack Ma. So the Evergrande isn't a clampdown as much as it is it's a problem. It's a debt-ridden economy where real estate development isn't a function of kind of economic need and added value. It's a function of state policy and favoritism and graft and those types of things. So it's in most other countries, when you build a road, you build an apartment building, you build a city, there's reasons people want to be there, and there's reasons for it. And in the same token, in the U.S. we have what are called ghost towns, where there once was an economic reason to be there, and then when the economic reason went away, people left. And in China, Evergrande is kind of the opposite. They're building all kinds of apartment buildings. So for decades, no one's ever lived in it. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. But so the crackdown is that, and cybersecurity cryptocurrency is another area where they crack down. Right? They need to show up their digital yuan, their currency, and failing economies aren't fit for currencies.
And so you mentioned control, and it seems many of these sectors, be it cryptocurrency or Jack Ma, are digital. So it's different from, say, manufacturing, where you can gain control by limiting the amount of people who work there. But in these digital realms, it's almost like trying to control people's thoughts. So do you see that as one of the reasons for the harsh stance?
Sure. On the one hand, if you base an economy based on full employment, then your drive as the arbiter, as the director of the economy in the country, which the CCP is, they're going to dictate that a certain number of people build houses, buildings, cities, and so forth. So they're going to have a lot of. They're also going to dictate, production. This production isn't based on marginal profit; it's based on production, number of units we need to get out. And that's control. On the other side, cryptocurrency means hidden currency, means hidden transactions. And that's, again, that's something that it's anathema to control. It undermines the ability of the Chinese government, CCP, to control and know what people are doing. And kind of the counterweight to that, or another aspect of that, I guess, could be the social credit system, where they do know what you're doing, they do know what you're thinking, what you're reading, what you're consuming, what you're saying, and watching, and so forth. And, if you have an opinion that's out of line, or you say the wrong thing, or you have a social credit score that means your taxes are higher, or you can't access your money, your bank account is frozen, things like that. So that's all about control. And cryptocurrency is just another venue where people can do things that can't be traced. And so that's the part of control on the currency side. Yeah, absolutely.
And so what are some of the ways China has clamped down on the tech sector?
Technological giants like Alibaba, and they took a bosh on Ant Group, $37 billion IPO, which would have been a record. But there's an irony there in that if you look at the U.S., the U.S. technology groups are kind of saying, "Oh, let us, the U.S. is trying to, provide antitrust legislation and pass that and break these up because they're becoming so oligarchic and so monopolistic and really controlling information and how we live our lives, what we say, what we think, minimizing the access to information." So, in a way, the intelligence community is telling. Is warning, well, you shouldn't break up these companies because it's going to give China the advantage. And I just think that the CCPs are afraid of technology, that means technological gurus, because they represent the threat to their power. And the intelligence community are saying, well, no, we need to have these giant technology companies, Facebook and Amazon and Google and all the rest, because we have to defend ourselves against China. Well, all these people have made money in China, billions of dollars, so are they really that believable? That's what it is. So I think anyone really takes that too serious, but it is kind of an ironic development, to say.
So cryptocurrency and Evergrande are in the news a lot recently, but going forward, how do you see that as playing out?
I see China's growth has been steadily dropping the past 5, 6, 7 years, and probably longer. And you have to understand that China's growth numbers are mythical for all intents and purposes. I mean, building a ghost city, 1 or 2 dozen or 200 or 60 million empty apartments, that's not productivity in the way that you would measure it typically, right? Building something for the sake of building it is not productivity. Funding a loan to finance that building isn't productivity if there's no return on investment, right? So China is having a big problem, and it didn't start with Evergrande. It started long before, but it was certainly made worse by the events of the past several years, which include the tariffs under the Trump administration. The kind of the decoupling from Huawei in the West. They lost a lot of business in Europe and Western Europe and Asia, and of course the U.S. So there's been a lot of kind of blows to China, and certainly their role in the pandemic hasn't helped. Hasn't helped their brand. So I see things getting much more, if it's possible, much more difficult in China, much more strident. And here's the thing with a dictatorship, which is what they are, the party system, is like an inverted pyramid. You have all the weight of all these different levels of the economy, of social stability, people unhappy with losing their money, their investments, and losing jobs, and all kinds of things like that. Retirement's not there for them. And you have a lot of pressure on one man in the echelon surrounding that person. And I think what we're going to see from a standpoint of weakness is the need to participate in foreign adventures, and that's not just the need to let off pressure. China can no longer feed itself, and it needs to have it needs farmland, it needs food supplies and resources. It's really stripped itself of those things to a large extent. So I think China's foreign policy, I think we're going to see much more. We're already seeing South China Sea and the threat over Taiwan and some other places. So I think we'll see more aggressive foreign adventurous China.
So you mentioned seeing things getting worse inside China going forward, but what about on the international stage? How do you see this as impacting, or will it have an impact?
On the international stage, we've already seen China fill the void left by the U.S. departure out of Afghanistan. That is a big gap, a big void to fill, and they're happy to do it. China has certainly acted as we might expect with filling the gap and the void left by the U.S. In Afghanistan. They're certainly happy to create as many bilateral agreements with the digital yuan and bilateral trade agreements and so forth, and they've done a lot. So they'll continue to do that. They'll continue to try to supersede the U.S. Economically, militarily, strategically, and they're making the most of our ignominious departure from Afghanistan by using to cast doubt on the American security guarantees in the Far East, which includes Japan, North Korea, the Philippines, and certainly Australia. And Australia is already feeling the heat from China as well in terms of broken trade agreements and not importing coal, which China depends a lot. It's not a blanket application. There are inconsistencies in that, but overall, China is definitely trying to exert its influence to create or control as many external forces and influences that their favor. So the worse things get on the inside, the more you need to control things on the outside to make up. Obviously, provide a diversionary, kind of a nationalistic feel, right? The world against China, the U.S.-led world against China. So they need to create that to keep people in line and to gin up some support for the regime. But they also need it just practically. They need to feed their people. They need to secure markets. They need to gain access to other economies, and they're seeing a big pushback from Europe a little bit now. And so I think it's going to be difficult internally and externally.
And so you brought up Australia and the coal imports, and right now there's a massive energy and power shortage in China. Well, not just in China, but also in Europe and other places. So what's your take on that shortage?
Well, it's prices for one. China has limited the price escalation. And so when you do that, you create shortages because electrical generating companies aren't going to operate in the red forever. And so when you put price limitations on something, by definition, you tend to limit the supply. Only so much supply can be applied at price X, and if you don't let them raise the price and make it profitable or make it ability to run it with some kind of profitable cash flow, then it's going to stop. So there's that. There's a variety of things. Some of it's infrastructure, reliance on coal, which is interesting. Is a huge part of China's energy. It's ironic. We think of China as the most advanced, and they present themselves as the most technologically advanced nation, or at least one of them, a leadership role, and yet their energy source is very lost. It's going to become like a century. But you're going to see some disruptions because when you mandate from the top, you always have tremendous inefficiency. So electricity isn't going where it needs to go. It's going to go where.
And say with the current AUKUS submarine deal between the Australia, the US, and the UK, it seems in a way the Chinese regime responds to those by using a way of almost all bark and no bite, by putting on a show. And as you mentioned, China seems strong on the surface while hiding inner weakness. So what's your take on that?
It is. It's hiding an inner weakness, but it's also there's a strategy that they're following, and that is they realize that perception in the region is tremendously important. And the perception in the region around the world, unfortunately, is that the U.S. doesn't lack the military power. So we don't lack that at all. But there is the notion that we lack the political will to continue, and to, that we don't make a very reliable ally long term. And so China is, you're right, they are barking about it, and they're making as much of it as they can, and they're doing more than that. They're certainly violating Taiwanese airspace with military aircraft on a regular basis, and they're upping the amounts of aircraft that are doing that. That's not inconsequential. And as I said earlier, what they're trying to do is really change the tenor, change the assumptions, the underlying assumptions of Asian security in that region that has been anchored by American naval power and air power and military and the willingness to use it. So it's in a way it's in the inversion. Yeah, they're much weaker than the U.S. from a naval perspective, but they're much stronger from at least perceived to be from a will to exert that power.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, James. Great to have you on the show.
Appreciate it.
And for those just tuning in, that was today's special episode with James Gorrie, blogger, filmmaker, and author of The China Crisis. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.